Hello and welcome back to another Rush Duel Links deck profile. Today we're taking another look at Music Princess since it has just had the rerun event for Tiger, which has brought us 2 new cards, which has actually drastically changed the way that the deck operates, gives us a lot more tools, and increases its lethality by such a ridiculous degree. So the brand new cards, first off we have Turbodiche the Music Princess. This card is really good. Now this is a level 6 monster, which is obviously not great. Unfortunately the skill will not give us a discount on this, so this always comes out as a 1 tribute monster, but its stats are okay, right? 1800 is fine, but most of the time it won't stick around long. So its effect is that if we have another face-up warrior type monster on the turn that we normal summon this card, we can add a level 7 or higher wind attribute monster and 1 warrior type normal monster from your graveyard to your hand. There's quite a few restrictions here, right? We have to have another monster on the field. Sometimes that can get a little bit annoying. Most of the time that's quite easy to manage. Then we have to have both a normal monster and a boss monster in the graveyard, otherwise we can't use the next part of the effect. But this does get us 2 cards to hand. If you think about it, we have to summon a monster, then we tribute it to get out the Turbodiche. Turbodiche effect then gives us a +2, so it's a -1 because we have to tribute a monster. We get the +2, so that do end up on a +1, which is actually pretty good. But what else does this card do? Well, it actually has a new fusion, and that is Action Melody, the Music Princess. This card is really good. So this is a level 8, 2800 attack, 2800 defense monster, made using Turbodiche and Boton. We could place 1 spell card from your graveyard in either the top or bottom of the deck. So this is immediately quite an okay effect, right? We could just take a power spell, such as Pot of Greed or such as Ballet, and just put it on the top of our deck, draw it for next turn. But the other part of the effect is that we make 1 face-up monster on your opponent's field lose 2000 attack and defense. So that's amazing, right? It basically means this card can beat over anything that has 4700 attack or lower, which is unbelievably good. We can basically clear just about anything. And it lowers defense as well, which can be very relevant depending on the matchup. But the other part of the effect is, if we placed straight Pierce or Fusion on the top or bottom of the deck to meet this requirement, we get to draw 1 card. So what that means is if we want to go into another fusion play, we can just pop Fusion back on top and then draw into it, and now we just have a fusion. Or if we do have the straight Pierce in the graveyard, and we do have those 5 cards in the graveyard as requirement, we can put this card on top, draw into it, activate it, gain that 2000 attack and piercing, which is just so strong. And the thing to remember is straight Pierce can only be used on a level 7 or 8 monster, which means we can't use it on most of our fusions. But Action Melody is a level 8 monster, which means we can go straight Pierce onto our Action Melody. It goes up to 4800. We've just reduced our opponent's attack by 2000. So let's pick a random number, 3000 attack boss monster. We reduce it down to 1000. We've now got a 4800 with piercing. They now have a 1000 attack monster in attack. That's immediately 3800 damage that we get, and we also clear over their biggest monster, which is really good. On top of that, we do also have another monster that can get really big and have piercing in Divine Breath, the Orchestral Music Fiend. So what we can do is go into Divine Breath and Action Melody, get back the straight Pierce, discard a bunch of cards for Divine Breath, and then we have 2 massive piercing monsters. In a recent tournament finals, we actually did see an opponent manage to pull off this combo and have 10,000 damage worth of piercing monsters on the board across 2 guys, which is just absolutely insane. But the rest of this deck is still really strong as well. We'll quickly go over the skill. We are quite deep in, but we'll cover this quickly. Can be activated from turn 2 onward by revealing 1 warrior monster with 2000 or more defense in your hand. If all of the monsters in your constructed deck are wind attribute warrior type and or wind beast monsters. Add Boton or Fusion from your deck or graveyard to your hand. This turn you can normal summon / set warrior type monsters with 2000 or more defense with 1 less tribute. So this is so powerful. First off, being able to just get a body is fantastic. Plus, because we're making our boss monsters only cost 1 tribute, that means we can immediately use that Boton to summon out any of our bosses, which is really good. Also, if we need the fusion, we can grab that. If we need Boton to just be the other half of the fusion, we can grab that. And again, making our monsters be able to be summoned with 1 less tribute is unbelievably powerful. This is basically the effect that makes Join Tech as strong as it is right now, and that is obviously a tier 1 deck. This is obviously another really powerful tier 1 deck, but both of the best decks in the game right now basically have the same sort of skill, which lets them get out their boss monsters for a bit cheaper, and I don't think there is a coincidence as to why that is. So this deck is just absolutely insane, right? We have the Digisoon, who can boost its attack based on the number of defense position monsters your opponent has, and this can get really big. This thing can get as high as 48, which is really big. We have Ensemble Fighter, whose effect doesn't come up much, but it can come up, just being able to turn off those battle traps. Not many people are on battle traps right now, but when this card does work, it's really good. And obviously we want to use this to go into Full Orchestra, the Music Fiend, which is kind of our main playmaker. This is usually the card that we're going to use to force our opponent's traps out, or just blow apart their back row so we can go for that lethal. If they do, again, use anything on the summon of Full Orchestra, we do have Curse of the Rising Light to get a bit of extra value and to change the back position of our opponent's monster. We also have Trombo, which again is such a fantastic card. We can play around Shady with this, because if we, for example, summon out a Full Orchestra, our opponent flips it down using Shady, we can summon out Trombo, activate the effect, discard a monster, flip our Full Orchestra back up, and then use its effect to wipe out your opponent's back row. So just really good. This also fills the graveyard, which will turn on both Battle Ballet and Straight Pierce, as well as put cards in the graveyard for effects like Turbadiche. So it just works so well in this deck. It is such a key part of the deck. Then we're playing Horn Knives. This, again, is here mostly just to get us an extra body. If we get an extra body, we can do a lot more combo plays. It can be really good. And then to facilitate it, we are playing 3 normal monsters in Saxophone and 3 more normal monsters in Boton, which we'll be playing anyway, because it works with the skill, it works with the fusions. There's no reason not to play 3 Boton. But the spells, we're on Pot of Greed, just the best legend spell in the game. It's just extra consistency. It's always useful. Then we have the 3 Ballet, again, insane being able to fuse using your graveyard. Basically, a 1-card boss monster is always going to be completely broken. Being able to threaten either an action or a Full Orchestra or a Divine Breath at any time is insanely strong. We do have the 1 copy of Fusion. We don't need more than 1 because, again, the skill will infinitely recycle it. And then for the traps, we are just playing the 3 Shady. Now, we could be playing more traps, but the only other trap I'd really want to be playing is probably Compulse to deal with, for example, the Mirror Match. Now, we could play something like Trap Hold to deal with Join Tech, but overall, I don't think it's necessary, but we have seen some builds doing so. So one thing I will say is lots of people are building this deck differently. We haven't necessarily narrowed down the perfect build for this yet, because some people are playing all 9 of their bosses. So they're playing the 3 Digisoon, the 3 Ensemble, the 3 Turbadiche. Some players are opting to play, for example, 1 less Digisoon or 1 less Ensemble, and then play the 3 copies of Turbadiche. So some people are still debating whether they should go as low as like 7 bosses or as high as 9 bosses. I've found 8 to be quite comfortable, but again, this isn't necessarily the best build. We've also seen the number of normal summons go up and down. We did see recently a list that was only playing 10 normal summons did win a tournament. We currently are on 12. 12 does feel a little bit better because otherwise the deck can be prone to bricking occasionally. If we just find a hand of just bosses, we can use the skill to grab out, for example, Boton, then we can get out 1 of our bosses, but that's kind of it. That's as far as we go, which is not really that great. If we get a hand of all spell traps, again, there's not really a lot we can do with that. So I personally lean to preferring more normal summons, but it will be down to personal preference. Again, I don't really want to be bricking. That's my biggest concern with it. As for matchups, this deck is actually really strong into a lot of decks. This does have a favorable matchup into Joint Tech, and I think that's part of the reason this deck is seeming so popular at the moment. And because, again, getting a hold of these cards is really quite easy, so that's another reason. This deck, though, can sometimes struggle into Fullmetarion. Now, the obvious reason why is because Fullmetarion can absorb all your attack with Ashura Star, and if they're able to do that, they can just OTK you very easily. But sometimes we can just kind of play defensive and then eventually amass enough power to just pierce and kill our opponent over their defenses, and that can just work and win the game there as well. So I wouldn't even necessarily say this deck has any really punishing matchups, and overall just feels like it's just a really strong deck. As we said before, this is definitely a tier 1 deck, and that is for a reason. This has recently been tearing up the tournament scene. It's seeing tons of tops. It has only seen 1 tournament win since it got the update, but it has had a couple of second places, and we do expect it to be winning more in the future. But let's fire in some replays, and I could show what I've been talking about.